Well, no matter where you are right now, you are having hopefully the best day possible, and hopefully you're having the best day possible because you're joining us, Butt Fumble Sports, a sports content company created by a sports fan for you sports fans out there that love to talk sports, sports betting, fantasy sports, that are crazy about numbers, that love to just rant about what's going on in the sports world and get a lot of entertainment out of watching sports in the best way possible, and that's being well informed. Hope you guys are having a great day. Make sure you guys hit the follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Again, no matter the platform you're watching on, Instagram Live, TikTok Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, Butt Fumble Sports is live across all of these platforms almost every single day, and we try to make an effort to answer your questions, give you guys a lot of picks and a lot of free research. So make sure you guys follow, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you're with us every single day possible. We are going to be talking a lot about what's going on in baseball today, because that's where a majority of the action is going to be. Only one NBA game, one NHL game, and of course we have a few baseball games. Not as big a schedule as we've had over the last few weeks of sports. We're getting closer to that point in the summertime where we're going to be talking a lot of NFL offseason as opposed to sports every day. But this is one of those days in which we have 3 sports to be talking. So if you want to talk some NHL, you want to talk some NBA, this is the place for you. But we're going to talk baseball first, because that's where we have first pitch of the day, a couple of 1 o'clock games. So we're going to focus on those first. If you guys do have a question, no matter the platform you're watching on, Instagram Live, TikTok Live, YouTube, Twitch, or Kick, feel free to throw your questions in. Dante, great to have you with us. Beautiful stroke. Yesterday from a game pick side was a rough one. From a player prop bet standpoint, it actually was a really good day. So it's one of those in which we take our lumps. We actually made money because the player prop bets went so well. I'm hoping that we can continue to do well on those while adding a little bit of certainty to some of those game picks. I did notice something else that I'll bring up a little bit later, which is how we can use one of the research tools that we use every single day to be able to actually make better in-game bets. That's something we're going to talk about a little bit over the next hour of the show. Let's get to our first picks of the day. Make sure you guys are hitting that follow button. First picks of the day are going to come from MLB. We're going to start in MLB, and then we'll work our way to the NBA and NHL as well. By the way, Instagram Live, I'm throwing up that money in the background just to keep you guys entertained, because normally it's just a green screen. If you guys hate it, let me know, and I'll do something different for the future. But wanted to try something new on the Instagram Live side. If you are watching on Instagram Live or TikTok Live, and you want to see the screen where I'm doing my research, I'm putting up the picks, if you want to see me actually do everything I'm talking about, jump on over to YouTube. YouTube's the place where you can see me do everything. Instagram Live and TikTok Live, the algorithm prefers to see a human face, so I tend to not just show my computer screen, I'm showing myself. So that's why I do that. I treat it like a podcast. But if you want to see what I'm doing on my screen, jump on over to YouTube. And for those on YouTube, you're getting a sense of the experience that's really intended for the viewer. As much research being put in front of you as possible, because that's what we care about, helping you guys out and making you smarter as you do your own research at home. First game we're going to talk about is going to be Royals and Twins. Really interesting where the market is on this game. 70% of the tickets are on the Twins to win. 67% of the money is on the Royals to win. Now, we talk about that discrepancy between public tickets and smart money often. We follow the money more often than not. There is a little bit of caution for me today. We'll talk about why, but the Royals do have a lot of value right now as an underdog. They are favored in terms of the marketplace. They're the underdog in terms of how the sports books putting out the odds. But in terms of how the market is looking at it, the market favors them. 61% of tickets are on the Royals to cover plus 1.5. 65% of the money is on the Royals to cover plus 1.5. Keep your eye on that, because whether we like the Twins or the Royals on the money line, there's a lot to be said about Royals plus 1.5. Let's dive into some of the research that we're going to be looking at throughout the day. We just looked at Outlier. Outlier is a sports betting research tool that we use every day that requires a subscription. If you want a free 7-day trial for it, DM me on Instagram. Want to hook you guys up with that. If you want to use a free tool that you just have to be a little bit more useful, you have to be more knowledgeable about and know how to use a little bit more than Outlier. Outlier is built for the user. Killersports.com is a free website, but you need to know how to manipulate the data. That's what we do here every day during the show. So far this season, when the Royals are in the last game of a series and they're on the road, the scenario that they're playing in today, oh, forgive me, I'm over on the NBA side. Need to jump on over into the MLB side to make sure we're getting our there are no Royals in the NBA no longer. That said, team is the Royals. Royals, last game of a series on the road so far this year, 2-6 straight up, 3-5 on the run line. The trend that is really noticeable that I wanted to call out, so far this year when the Royals play the last game of a series on the road, the under is undefeated. The under is 7-0-1 in that scenario. That is a trend we're absolutely going to build a hypothesis around right now. So we're going to try and dial in on that underplay. Really quick, jumping back over. This right now, the total is set at 8. The market's favoring the over. 90% of the tickets are on the over. 91% of the money is on the over. This opened at 8.5. It actually came down to 7.5 and has jumped back up to 8 over the course of the last few hours. Interesting that overnight, this came down to 7.5, as if there was some money put down, being a little bit wise to the trend. If you're going to take this, keep your eye on under 9 or under 9.5. A couple of good spots there because we haven't crossed over the minus 200 threshold, which kind of for a number of you I know is a bad return on investment. So keep your eye on that, the under for Royals and Twins as we do our research. Additionally, again, Royals just 2-6 under this scenario. The 2 wins that they did have came against the Blue Jays and came against the Angels. One of those came against the left-handed pitcher. They're facing a right-handed pitcher today. So, in fact, when they play the last game of a series on the road against a right-handed starter, so far this year, they're 1-5 straight up, 2-4 on the run line. Just building a bit of a notion around where we want to go with our bets. That's how we go about our research every day. We're looking for trends, and then we're looking to see if those trends are backed by other trends, building a consensus in one direction. When the Twins are in the last game of a series at home, how have they performed so far this season? 3-5 straight up, 3-5 on the run line. The under's been slightly better at 4-3-1. Not too much on the under that makes me too excited. Again, just looking at this, every game actually under this scenario, right-handed pitchers on both the home and away teams. So that actually is exactly what we're looking at today. The games in which they won, Pablo Lopez pitched, Simeon Woods Richardson pitched, and Chris Paddock pitched. Chris Paddock is on the mound today for the Twins. How have the Twins done so far in Chris Paddock's start so far this year? Let's take a look at that. Chris Paddock. When Chris Paddock has been on the mound for the Twins so far this season, as we get that loaded up, appreciate you guys being with us. B loves the under for this game. Blonded, do I do any tennis picks? I don't, because I don't really have access to data. There's actually one other thing that I wanted to call out for you guys, which is kind of interesting. I was a production assistant. I worked in programming and content development at Fox Sports when Fox Sports 1 launched and when we had Fox Sports Live. And I worked with Andy Roddick. And I learned a lot about betting on tennis is not the smartest thing. Now, all I'm going to say is tennis is one of those sports. Now, probably not at a major, because I know major, at the Grand Slam events, I know that those are probably so competitive, no reason to kind of doubt or suspect that something may be, a little bit shady. But in a lot of the tennis tournaments that kind of happen weekend to weekend, there is a lot of I'm not really feeling it today. I'm just going to bow out. Or I feel, there's a little bit of reason to be suspicious about betting on tennis in non Grand Slam events. That's all I'm going to say. Learned a lot about that. Anyways, getting back to baseball, now that I've totally spilled the tea on that, getting back to baseball, Chris Paddock, starting pitcher for the Minnesota Twins, 7-3 straight up so far this year when he's pitched. 7-3 on the run line. The under's been slightly better at 6-4. So again, building a bit of a consensus for the under. I think there's consensus for the Twins. Personally, I actually saw a really cool a piece of data. I'll pull it up now. Again, I know you got to take it with a bit of a grain of salt. Royals, when the Royals have played the Twins in Minnesota since 2020, the Royals are 10-23 when they're coming off a win in the previous game. The Royals are 1-12, 2-11 against the spread, or 2-11 on the run line. Now the over's far better in this trend at 10-3, so kind of interesting there. But I understand the Royals are a much different team than they were in 2000, 2001, 2002, even last year. But only 1-12 over the last 13 games after a win facing the Minnesota Twins. In Minnesota, it's just one of those trends. It was just one of those pieces of data that I saw that was like, wow, this is a level of ownership that makes it interesting, that the fact that the Twins are getting squeezed in terms of the money. We talked about it a moment ago. The marketplace is loving the Royals on this. Just kind of stood out to me. It was just interesting. Let's dive back into those starters, though. Chris Paddock has been a really good starter so far this year for the Twins. Let's look at it specifically at home. So far this year, the Twins are 5-1 when he pitches at home. 5-1 on the run line, and for those under bettors, you're going to love this as well. The under is 5-1 when Chris Paddock pitches at home this year. So between the Royals being 0-5-1, last game of a series on the road against a right-handed starter, favoring the under. Chris Paddock 5-1, favoring the under at home. The under's got a lot of momentum to it. Let's see if Brady Singer can back that up. He's the starting pitcher for the Royals. We want to make sure we're looking at it from all sides before we put it on the big board. Right now, Brady Singer, when he's pitched on the road, 3-1 towards the over, 2-2 split between straight up and 2-2 on the run line. Wish that was a little bit better. When he's been an underdog so far this year, regardless of location, same thing, 3-1 favoring the over, 2-2 on the run line, 2-2 straight up. But here's the important note, actually. When he's pitched as an underdog, when Brady Singer's pitched as an underdog this season, the Royals have actually produced an average of 7.25 runs per game. That's incredibly high. Meanwhile, Chris Paddock, when he's pitched at home, opposing teams are averaging about 2.5 runs per game. So if we're going to base it based on the starting pitcher and kind of less on the starting lineup of the Kansas City Royals and how they performed under Brady Singer starts, because they faced some decent starters, actually. Bailey Ober, Hunter Brown, UC Kikuchi, and George Kirby. So Brady Singer has just gotten a lot of run support in his starts. On the road, the Royals are averaging about 4.5 runs per start for Brady Singer. I think the under remains a good play. As we spoke about a moment ago, I love the under at like a 9 or under 9.5. I'm going to take it at the under 9.5 because I want the 9 to be in my favor. I don't want it to be a push. But if you guys think that this stays in the 8 run range and you're willing to accept the push at 9, minus 155 on under 9 is not a bad play. But that's the first thing we're going to put on the board. That's going to be Royals. Actually, before I do that, really quick, weather report, looking at ballparkpal.com. Ballparkpal.com does require a subscription, and they don't sponsor the show, so I don't show them on my screen, but we look at it every day. I pay for it. I highly recommend it. By the way, I'd love if they did sponsor the show because I think so highly of it. Much like Outlier, it's one of those things that I use on my own, and they hopefully will just join the community of sponsors that we have here. But ballparkpal.com is phenomenal, great research tool. It runs thousands of simulations every day for each baseball game, so you get an understanding of what the data would say about a certain pitcher, a certain hitter, a certain team, or a certain matchup. And what's really good is it runs it around weather reports as well, which is something that past data can never really account for. Hard for that to be included in past data, so it's a great way of kind of at least getting an understanding of expectation for the current day. Looking at the weather report for that Royals and Twins game in Minnesota, likelihood of home runs is down 13%. There is going to be some wind going from right to left, but not necessarily a very good weather day, a bad weather day really for home runs, as well as not a great weather day for runs. Minus 4% probability on runs being scored, but overall across baseball, it's not expected to be a big run day. The game actually that has the best weather in terms of scoring runs is the Nationals and Braves. Wind will be blowing out to center field. Should be a sunny day. Should be a nice night actually there in Atlanta. But that's the best ballpark in terms of opportunity for runs. Angel Stadium has the best opportunity for home runs, but even there, not as good in terms of overall runs as Nationals and Braves. But again, we're looking at Royals. We're looking at the Twins. I'm going to take the under 9.5. Again, if you want to put that into a parlay, I totally understand. The non-parlay play would be under 9, but that's where we're going to be living on that push line. So, for all of you guys out there looking for the first pick of the day, Royals, Twins on the under. Now, getting back to it, where do I ultimately come down on this game as a whole? It's hard for me not to take the Twins on the money line. The problem is the marketplace isn't backing that up. The favorite, not just obviously with the sports books, but in terms of public tickets, is the Twins. That has me nervous. I don't really like being on the side of the public. I'd much rather be on the side of the sports books or on the side of the smart money. But that said, I'm disagreeing a little bit with where the money is coming down on this game. I feel a little bit better about the Twins in terms of the money line. But before we get to that, I actually do want to show you guys the player prop bets for this game, because I've been doing my research on this a little bit more. We've been hitting on player prop bets pretty well in baseball. Knock on wood that continues. Obviously, you say that and, you go 1 for 5. So, grain of salt. Whenever you call out your wins from a previous day, the sports betting gods always seem to humble you and turn you into a pumpkin very quickly. But we've been doing well on these because we've been following a consistent pattern in terms of research, which is we look at the matchup between the hitter and that day's starting pitcher. How have they performed historically? We look at the hitter against the righty-lefty splits in terms of what that starting pitcher is, assuming that pitcher is going to see that hitter at least twice, if not 3, potentially 4 times. So that's the best opportunity to kind of understand where we're going to get a probability that works in our favor. And finally, we just look at how they've performed over the last 10 games, 20 games, head-to-head against that certain opponent. A couple of hitters on the Twins have actually hit Brady Singer very well. One of our viewers called this one out. Punisher Cheeks called this one out. That's a hell of a handle. Butt Fumble Sports thinks that's a hell of a handle. Yo, Butt Fumble, please let me know what you think about Larnach, Byron Buxton, and Carlos Correa. 3 players I actually bet today. I actually do have a player prop bet involving all 3 to get a hit. So Punisher Cheeks, I'm actually right there with you, and here's why. Larnach against Brady Singer, 5 for 10 in his career with a home run, 3 RBIs. Byron Buxton against Brady Singer in his career, 467 in 15 at-bats, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs. And finally, Carlos Correa in 14 at-bats, 357 average, no home runs, but 2 RBIs. Now, I will say that Correa has a strikeout rate that's a little bit higher than I would like at 31.3%. But Larnach, Byron Buxton, they're sub 20% on strikeout rate against Brady Singer. Phenomenal, just like a great hit to strikeout rate there, forgive me. Byron Buxton to get a hit right now, head-to-head against the Royals when he's faced them at home. He has a hit only in 6 of his last 10 games, but against a right-handed starter, 5 of his last 8. He's actually failed to get a hit in his last 3 games against a right-handed Royals starter. Kind of interesting there. In his last 10 games at home against a right-handed starter, he has a hit in 7 of his last 10. Again, missed the last 2 against the Royals. I do like Byron Buxton a lot today. Against right-handed pitching, though, he's only hitting 244 against right-handed pitching, but it has been better of late, has been better in the last, let's say, over the last week and a half, 2 weeks of the season. So I like Byron Buxton over half a hit. That is one that I like. And I only bring this up, I'll get to the other guys in a moment, but one of the reasons I brought up this trend in the first place, or brought up this part of our research, is I like the fact that the Twins hit Brady Singer pretty well. So if I like the Twins based on the research we just did around Chris Paddock, and I don't like the Royals on the road last game of a series, I feel much better actually when even the Twins hitters have a good history. On the other side against Chris Paddock, the only player on the Royals who has a hit against them is Adam Frazier, and he's 1 for 4. Now, small sample sizes, sure, but I actually love the idea of getting some value on Twins hitters. Again, Twins, you can get them on the money line at minus 145 on Caesars. I'm sure we could find that on some other spots as well. ESPN Bet minus 155, Caesars minus 155, FanDuel minus 156, BetMGM minus 160, DraftKings minus 162. I'm taking the Twins. I understand I'm on the side of the public tickets, and I'm going against the money. Don't love that feeling. But I am taking the Twins on the money line. I'll take the risk on this one and go against the smart money. Now, I like Byron Buxton, as I mentioned a moment ago, to get over half a hit. Larnach is another one that I like. He's hitting 264 against right-handed pitching. Let's pull up his stats just to see if that's a good trend. Carlos Correa, by the way, is over 1.5 hits. I'm not as crazy about that one. If you want to take him over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, you could probably talk me into it. But we'll focus less on him, and we're going to look for a Larnach right now. Uh-oh. Is he not in the lineup? Hold on one second. We'll see if he's in the lineup. Larnach is not in the lineup. So Punisher Cheeks. Sometimes you get this, it's unfortunate, but Larnach is not in the starting lineup, so don't bet that, because the only opportunity you would get on him is if he came in as a pinch hitter. We want to avoid that. So the Twins lineup, Carlos Correa batting second. Byron Buxton is batting fifth. I like the Byron Buxton play. That's one I'm very high on. I like Byron Buxton over half a hit. I have an interesting idea. If you took Byron Buxton over half a hit and the Twins plus 1.5, and you put that into a 2-leg same game parlay, that's really interesting actually. We think the Twins are going to win on the money line. We certainly love if I could turn the Twins into the underdog at plus 1.5 and just find a way to make it even money, that's a really interesting 2-leg parlay. So for all of those out there that are looking, Bill, you're saying Singer got scratched. Oh my God, he did. It's Daniel Lynch. Daniel Lynch is on the mound. Okay, things have changed very, very quickly. We got to scrape this off the board. Wow. Daniel Lynch. Things have changed rapidly. Good to note. I'm glad we actually had one of our viewers, Bill. Thank you so much for letting us know. We hadn't seen that. Daniel Lynch is now the starter. How does that change things? How does it change the market? Maybe this is where the money knew something. Chris Paddock, first things first. We love the fact that Chris Paddock is still 5-1 at home, straight up and 5-1 on the run line. So that's really interesting. Trey Cameron, thanks for letting us know. It's Daniel Lynch. Let's take a look at how Daniel Lynch has performed. Unfortunately, we still like the under. We still like the under because if you remember, Brady Singer's overplays were actually one of the things that were making us a little cautious about the under. Daniel Lynch so far on the road, he actually hasn't made a start so far this year on the road. Hasn't made a start so far this year at all. This is his first start since coming off the IL. In last year's starts, he made 8 starts last year. The Royals went 3-5 straight up. 3-5 on the run line. The under went 5-3. It actually kind of backs up everything we thought before. When he pitched on the road last year, 1-3 straight up. The under was 4-0. I still feel good about everything we just did. So even though I ripped it off the board, I'm going to put it right back up there. Now, Byron Buxton's the one that I'm going to rip off the board because I don't know the stats. Outlier hasn't updated yet. So let's see if we can get Outlier to update because the Daniel Lynch, that makes a huge impact on our player prop bets. That is a late scratch that is really important for us to be aware of. Thanks for letting us know, guys. Thanks for keeping us. This is why the Butt Fumble sports community is so important. It's not just one man talking sports betting research or talking sports or talking fantasy sports. This is a community of sports fans that comes together. I like to call us team cashing tickets because we're all on the same team. We're fighting against the sports books. The sports books want to take our money. The sports books want to go into our wallet and take our money. We are fighting against that. Butt Fumble Sports and every one of you guys out there are on team cashing tickets. We want our money from the sports books. We want to make sure that Vegas goes from a city back to a town. No knock on the people in Vegas. I'm tongue in cheek right here, as Butt Fumble Sports tends to be the cheeky side of sports over here. But in all honesty, I really am rooting for us to win every single bet, for you to win every single bet. So make sure if you're aware of something, if there's a trend you know, there's a piece of data you know, if there's something out there that you've been studying, that you heard on social media, that you came across, that your barber's friends, dog walkers, cousins, next door neighbor, mail delivery guys got an inside track on, we'll listen. We're always up for it because Butt Fumble Sports is team cashing tickets, and we love being with you guys every single day to talk all of these things. So that said, we're going to wait to know when Daniel Lynch's player prop bets become available. But for the first picks we put on the board, Royals, Twins on the under 9.5, and Twins on the money line. Appreciate you guys being with us. By the way, Andrew, what's really great, the cheeky side of sports, we filed a trademark for this cheeky side of sports and for where fans are never number two. And as of this week, we just got word from our patent trademark attorney. We actually secured those two trademarks. So Andrew, the cheeky side of sports can only be found at Butt Fumble Sports, where fans are never number two. Only place you can go to hear those two slogans. So kind of cool. Just a bit of a milestone for Butt Fumble Sports. Getting back to this game, I like Twins on the money line. I like Royals, Twins, under 9.5. I understand if you guys are going to avoid this game overall. Feels like because of the change in starting pitcher might be reason to just avoid it overall. So that said, maybe you don't want to touch this one. Appreciate you guys, by the way, showing a lot of love for the company. We own our logo. We own our trademarks. We own our name. So Mark Sanchez, back off. Don't be running into our butt fumble. But that said, we love being with you guys every single day. Absolutely love this company and love talking sports with you guys. It is an absolute thrill. Punisher Cheeks likes Willie Castro to get a hit. Thanks for letting us know. Great call over there. Was Jim Rome a nice dude? Was Jim Rome a nice dude? Okay, a little bit of story time before we get back to our research. Jim Rome is one of the most intense grinders in terms of work. The dude just hustles. The dude works so hard. So there were only 4 people in the entire office. It was Jim Rome. It was a guy named Kyle Brandt, who's now gone on to TV fame of his own on NFL, Good Morning NFL or whatever that show was called, will be called, whatever it is, but Kyle Brandt as well. And then we worked with a radio op, who he works the board. He's the engineer, radio engineer, the tech engineer, named Alvin, who's awesome. Alvin behind the scenes. The guys who work behind the scenes in sports media, who actually do the producing, the engineering, the directing, the camera work, amazing people who hustle, they grind, and they have no ego. They're so humble, they're incredible. So anyways, Kyle Brandt, by the way, incredible worker, just so funny, so smart, and just worked his ass off. And you could say the same about Jim. Now, Jim is definitely one of those guys that at the end of the day is okay, I'm going home. I'm not inviting everyone from the office to go hang out. And that's probably something I would have done different. If there is a part that I would have changed, it would have been I would have had barbecues at my house, because like I was living in a part of the country I hadn't lived in before. I didn't know anybody. I was single. I was 23 years old. As one of his producers, and there was only 4 people in the office, so I probably could have used a little bit of that. But that said, I don't have a negative word to say about Jim Rome as a boss, as a person. He's a good person. He is a worker to the absolute end. I learned great work ethic from him, and he has had incredible success. So I'm looking forward to his show on Twitter, X. I'm looking forward to that team transferring over. Funny enough, when I was there, the listeners, I think, hated me because I answered the callers' questions, and if you called into the show, I was the one that picked up and decided who actually got to speak to Jim, and I was way too strict. I was not in on the jokes. So I think the listeners hated me. Probably one of the reasons I only stayed there for about a year. So Jeremy, Jim Rome, call Chris Everett. Again, that is the moment that really made Jim. I know that's the moment a lot of people know him for. Okay, anyways, that was story time. Back to sports betting research time. Let's get back to MLB. We're going to talk about the next 1 o'clock game. 1:10 first pitch, Cubs and Brewers. This has been a really fascinating series. As for the market on this one, 70% of the tickets are on the Brewers to win, but only 61% of the money. So Cubs getting a little bit more action on the money side of things when it comes to the marketplace. As for the spread, kind of the same story, just not as dramatic. 71% of the tickets are on the Brewers, 67% of the money is on the Brewers as well. The over, 65% of the tickets, 64% of the money. Kind of interesting there that there isn't more of a swell towards the over. We'll have to study that one a little bit. As for the starting pitching matchup in this one, we got to make sure we're studying that now that we saw a change in that Twins-Royals game. Jamison Tyone on the mound for the Cubs. Colin Rea on the mound for the Brewers. Let's dive into some trends, everybody, and make sure we're catching it. I'm kind of going back to this Cubs, Brewers, over the last few years when these two teams have played under the scenario when Cubs are playing in Milwaukee, coming off a win in the previous day's game, or coming off a loss, I should say, in the previous day's game. How have they performed? Cubs have gone 9-3. Just want to trim up that sample size. So over the last couple of years, 6-7 straight up, 5-8 on the run line. Over's been slightly better. Just seeing if some trends develop. Sometimes you notice a history of two teams facing each other in a certain location where one team just absolutely dominates the other. So just kind of keeping track. How have the Cubs done? Last game of a series on the road so far this year. Under that scenario, Cubs are 5-4, 6-3 on the run line. The over/under has favored the under at 5-3-1. When they have faced a right-handed starter in that scenario, it's only changed by one game. They faced a left-handed starter just once. They're 4-4 straight up, 6-2 on the run line, and the under's 5-3 when they faced a right-handed starter on the road in the last game of a series. What can be said about the Brewers' last game of a series so far at home this year? 4-3 straight up, 3-4 on the run line. Under has the over's been slightly better at 4-3. Again, they face a right-handed starter, and once again, that's been the case for most of these matchups. Against a right-handed starter, 3-3 straight up, 2-4 on the run line, 3-3 on the over/under. Nothing really standing out early about this game. Let's jump on over and let's just check out the starting pitching matchup with Jamison Tyone on the mound. 2 L's. Jamison Tyone on the mound for the Cubs. So far this year, 4-3 straight up, 2-5 on the run line. The Cubs have actually lost 3 straight games with him on the mound. Those came against the Braves, Pirates, and Cardinals. This one against the Brewers. He did face the Brewers earlier this year on May 4th. Got a 6-5. The Cubs got a 6-5 win in that game at Wrigley. He's only pitched as an underdog twice this year. Specifically at home when on the road when Jamison Tyone is pitched on the road. He's 1-2 straight up, 1-2 on the run line. Under is 2-1. Let's take a look at it from the Colin Rea side of things. Again, not seeing any real trends standing out for this game. Kind of an interesting one. Colin Rea, so far this season, is what we care about. 6-3 in his start so far. 6-3 on the run line. The over slightly better at 6-3 as well. Over's hit in 3 straight games in which he's pitched. When he has been the starting pitcher at home this year, Brewers are 3-1 straight up, 3-1 on the run line. Over is 3-1. Wish I could say that really stands out favoring the Brewers, but it doesn't. I'm just not seeing anything as of right now. How about when the Brewers are coming off a win and they're at home as a favorite in the following day's game? 4-3 straight up, so not even that. How about last game of a series coming off a win in the previous day's game? 6-7. They've actually lost 5 of their last 6 under that scenario. How about when the Cubs are coming off a loss last game of a series, regardless of location? 5-3 straight up, 6-2 on the run line. Nothing that really stands out again about this game. The marketplace is kind of throwing us off as well because the market kind of shows it's favoring the Brewers in terms of the public, but the money's creeping down on the Cubs more than I would probably like. I'm not going to touch this game. Don't have a lot of certainty on it. Something tells me that the under might be a slightly better play, but even there, not trusting it enough. I'll probably avoid this one altogether. Again, the only thing you could probably talk me into is maybe taking the under at, again, like a 9, 9.5, but that's a little bit too risky given that we don't have any trends to back it. Justin81, thanks so much for the love. Really appreciate you guys being with us and you guys joining us every single day that you can. Knowing that you guys take time out of your day to watch our content is the absolute honor of a lifetime. I believe there is no greater democracy than content consumption because the moment that you don't back something, you just change the channel. So I am so grateful for you guys taking time out of your day to watch our content and to listen to us talk about sports. I'm noticing something out my window is balloons are being lifted into the air. So there's like a series of balloons just reaching pretty high heights because I'm not low to the ground right now. So anyways, let's go to our next game. Next game on the schedule is Athletics and the Rays. We've been waiting for a long time to know the starting pitcher of the Oakland Athletics. It is Hogan Harris. Hogan Harris on the mound. Market's really favoring the Tampa Bay Rays. By the way, we'll get to player prop bets on that other game in just a moment. Figured we'd knock out this other 1 o'clock baseball game in terms of total and game picks rather. A's and Rays, the market favoring the Rays. 83% of the public is backing the Rays on tickets. 94% of the money is on Tampa Bay to win. As for the run line of -1.5 in favor of Tampa Bay's getting the love there as well. 91% of the money is on Tampa Bay to cover, -1.5. Keep your eye on that. I actually like the fact that it's outpacing the public tickets because if we do like the Rays, there could be some good value there, but we'll have to keep our eye on it. As for the total, right now the total's set at 8.5. 57% of the tickets are on the over. 60% of the money is on the over. Let's get to some trends, everybody. I care less about how these two teams have performed historically against each other since they're not divisional opponents. That's something I care a little bit more when it's division foes and they face each other so frequently. For this one, we're going to look at Athletics. Last game of a series on the road so far this year. How have they performed? Surprisingly well. Let me say that with a bit of a grain of salt sprinkled on top. 4-4 straight up, 4-4 on the run line. The over is 4-2-2. However, they have gone just 2-4 in their last game of a series on the road scenarios. The 2 wins that they had were against the Yankees and the Orioles, so a bit of a shocker there. In fact, kind of interesting that the 2 wins did come against the AL East. If they pull off today, make a note of that. The A's against the AL East having a little bit more success than maybe we expected. How about when the Athletics are coming off a loss in the previous day's game? So far this year, coming off a loss, let's say specifically on the road, 7-12 straight up, but they're 9-10 on the run line, 9-1 on the over-under. Well done by the sportsbooks under that scenario. But here's the trend I really wanted to call up. Okay, there was a time there in April that the Athletics were a surprisingly good team. That's kind of backed off a little bit. When the Athletics are coming off a loss and then they play on the road the following day, since May 10th, they've played 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 games in that scenario. They are 2-8 straight up. So again, if I put this at a date, of, let's say, 2024, 05, 01. So May 5th, 2-8 straight up. They're 3-7 on the run line. Heard that correct? 2-7 straight up, 3-7 on the run line since May 1st. When they're following a loss with a game on the road, the scenario that they have today, there's a lot of value, I think, on that run line if you like the Rays. We'll keep an eye on it as we continue to do our research, but just something that stands out. Again, if you're new to the show, how do we go about our research? Scientific method. We look at a few pieces of data, we build a hypothesis. We test that hypothesis against other research and experiment to see if it is supported by other trends. If it is, we come up with a conclusion, create a new hypothesis. So that's how we go about things. I know it's super nerdy. I'm a nerd. So that said, let's look at the Rays side of things. When the Rays are in the last game of a series at home so far this year, Rays are 5-5 straight up, 3-7 on the run line. The over slightly better at 6-4. How about when they're coming off a win in that scenario? Following a win, last game of a series at home. Bad news for our run line play. Rays are 0-5 this year. 0-5 on the run line when they are following a win at home in the last game of a series. So right as we were building that consensus, our experiment knocks that one out. Rays have been abysmal. They only have one win. In fact, they're 1-4 straight up. Last game of a series at home following a win. So all of a sudden things change. I think Rays on the money line probably still has validity to it, but really don't like the fact that that run line play is now kind of out of it. At home following a win in general, any point in a series, 4-10 on the run line, 6-8 favoring the, again, 6-8 on the straight up play. Let's just circle back to the starting pitchers for today's matchup. Hogan Harris is on the mound for the Oakland Athletics. Hogan Harris is making his season debut. Last year when he pitched, the A's were 1-5 in his starts, 1-5 straight up when Hogan Harris pitched, 2-4 on the run line. Over under went 3-2-1, favoring the over. On the other side of things, on the mound for the Rays is Shawn Armstrong. I believe this is an opener situation for the Rays. Rays are 2-2 in his starts, 2-2 on the run line. The over is 4-0 in his starts so far this year, so that's the only trend that really comes out of that. Frankly, I'm not going to back the total as much as I really want to in this game. Maybe over 7's a good play, or over 7.5. That's not going to get my money. But I will take Rays on the money line. We are going to put Rays on the money line on the board. I do feel good about that. I like the fact that the market's backing that. A few trends are backing it as well. I understand Rays on the run line at home after a win has not been a good play, but I'm willing to take the straight up play here. Again, the Athletics, last game of a series on the road since the start of May, 2-8 straight up. So a lot of reason to kind of doubt they can bounce back at the same rate. Really quick, just looking if there's any other piece of data that stands out. So the Rays the Oakland Athletics are averaging about 5 runs allowed in those games we just talked about with that 2-8 record. So maybe there may be some offense for the Rays. Let's dive into the player prop bets really quick. We're going to circle back to player prop bets for Cubs and Brewers. But first, let's look at the player prop bet possibilities for the Rays and the A's. Not a lot of history, in fact, really no history for Oakland hitters against Shawn Armstrong, starting pitcher for the Rays. But against right-handed pitching so far this year, keep your eye on Brent Rooker. Brent Rooker is hitting .308 so far this year in 117 at-bats against right-handed starting pitcher, 8 home runs, 28 RBIs. In fact, let's just pull up Brent Rooker to make sure it's a good play. Over half a hit. He has a hit in 7 of his last 10 games, specifically against right-handed starting pitching. 7 of his last 10 games on the road against a right-handed starter. 8 of his last 10 games. So it's been a very strong play. Head-to-head on the road against the Rays. It's a small sample size, so you can't take too much from it. Over the last 20 games against a right-handed starting pitcher, he has a hit in 16 of his last 20 games. I'm going to put this one up on the board. We pulled Byron Buxton off the board when the starting pitcher matchup changed for the Royals-Twins game. So this will be our first player prop bet of the game. Brent Rooker over half a hit. That's a player prop bet that we like. Someone brought up Toro a little bit earlier. Toro has been a very strong play as well. Abraham Toro over half a hit. He has a hit in 8 of his last 10 games, specifically against right-handed starting pitchers. He has a hit in 9 of his last 10 games, over his last 20, 16 of his last 20. In fact, he hasn't gone back-to-back days without a hit against a right-handed starting pitcher over his last 20 games. However, he had a hit in his last 4 games, so that's not the scenario today. Against a right-handed starting pitcher so far this season stats, he is hitting .266. So actually, I'm not as crazy about him today because based on his average, wouldn't be surprising if he actually didn't get a hit today. I'm not going to take the bet. I'm not saying it doesn't hit. I'm just saying it's not one that I'm backing at the same kind of conviction level that I am Brent Rooker. Now, Miguel Andujar hitting .429 against right-handed pitching so far this year, but in just 14 at-bats. If you guys wanted to jump on that, I get it, but small sample size, so I'm not touching it. Against Hogan Harris, anyone have good numbers? Ramirez, 1 for 2. Siri, 1 for 3. Rosario, 1 for 2. It includes a home run. Rosario is hitting .273. Ramirez is hitting .304 against left-handed starting pitching. So let's take a look at Ramirez. Harold Ramirez. Oh, it's at 1.5. I don't want it at 1.5 hits. That has been a bad play. So not going to take anyone on the Rays side of things. Brent Rooker is the only one we're going to put up on the board for this game in terms of a player prop bet. Let's look at player prop bets for the Cubs and the Brewers. Circling back to that game. Against Colin Rea, the only Cub who actually has a hit against Colin Rea is Christopher Morel. And he's hitting just .188 against right-handed starting pitching this year. Not touching that. Against the starting pitcher for the Cubs, Jameson Taillon, Christian Yelich has great numbers lifetime. Against Jameson Taillon, Christian Yelich in 20 at-bats has a .400 batting average, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, and against right-handed pitching this year, he's hitting .304. So Christian Yelich, we really like today. Christian Yelich, you can get over half a hit. Putting that one up on the board as well. Christian Yelich, over half a hit. So again, maybe you're just going to do some player prop bet parlays. Brent Rooker over half a hit. Christian Yelich over half a hit. Put them together. Maybe that comes right around even money. Not a bad way of actually putting things together. Really quick, here's a recap of the picks we put on the board so far. Royals and Twins under 9.5. Under 9 if you're looking for it to risk the push. We like Twins on the money line. And I like the Rays on the money line. I also like Brent Rooker over half a hit. Christian Yelich over half a hit. We're avoiding Cubs and Brewers. Avoiding it. Just don't have high conviction on it. If you did put a water gun to my head and we're like, hey, I'm going to squirt you in the ear if you don't make a pick on this game, I'd probably take the under. Probably like under 9.5, but don't like it enough. Appreciate you guys being with us. I put up the effect. If you guys don't like it, I can take it off, I think. I tried doing something new because I wanted to... Here, I'll end it. I'll discard, and I'll go live again. I was hoping to try something new on the Instagram side of things to just see if it was a bit more entertaining, but clearly not. Do I like no run in the first inning? E-ball, yes, I actually do. Royals, Twins, I actually do like no run in the first inning. According to ballparkpal.com, no run in the first inning, no run in the first inning has about a 55% chance of hitting, so I do like that. So actually, I would say yes. No run in the first inning. B, I'm on you. Royals, Twins, no run in the first inning. John, I see, here's the thing, John. Michael Bush, we do our player prop bet research the way that we do because we're looking for guys who have a consistent history against the starting pitcher and against the righty-lefty split that they'll be facing in the starting pitcher. Michael Bush didn't back that. We talked about the Brewers. I don't have confidence in that one, so not about it. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are loving the content, loving the conversation. I hope you guys know I freaking love talking sports with you guys every single day. No matter where you guys are, you guys make my day by joining us every single time we go live. So make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe, make sure you're a member of the Butt Fumble Sports community. So freaking grateful to have you guys with us. Hope you guys are loving it. We are going to shift gears just slightly because our next couple of MLB games are starting at 4 o'clock or later. We'll get to those in just a minute, but I know a number of you have come to talk some NBA, so we're going to switch gears just slightly. I wanted to get those 1 o'clock baseball games out of the way so you guys had plenty of time to both hear the research that we did and to put bets down on what we talked about if you wanted to. You could follow or fade, that's up to you. But that's the research that we just did. We're going to shift gears now, and we're going to go focus on the NBA playoff game tonight. Mavericks, Timberwolves, going head-to-head in Minnesota in a massive game because obviously the finals are awaiting one of these two teams. Who's going to get it? Mavericks right now are getting some love from the money side of the market. 78% of the tickets are on the Timberwolves to win. 73% of the money is on the Mavericks to win. So the money is coming down very heavily on the Mavericks. Keep your eye on that. As for the spread, it's at 4.5 right now. 72% of the tickets are on the Mavericks to cover 4.5 points, and 68% of the money is on the Mavericks to cover plus 4.5. The money is also favoring the over. The over-under is set at 209.5. 81% of the tickets are on the over. 91% of the money is on the over. So really interesting. Just to recap, where is the money coming down on this game? Mavericks to win and on the over. Interesting. Let's dive into it a little bit further. Now, what I really care about is I care about that injury report right now. Injury report for this game. Luka Doncic, game time decision, I'm not worried about him. Derek Lively, game time decision, that's important to me. Derek Lively, want to make sure that he plays. Did not play in game 4. Obviously, the Mavericks lost, and you saw they did lose a lot of rim protection. They lost a presence down low offensively that would be able to draw in some of the defenders. So keep your eye on Derek Lively. Definitely matters, but that's a game time decision. So we're going to do our research for this game right now, but maybe you want to wait on some of your bets until a little bit later in the day, around 5:30, 6 o'clock. I think they released the injury report, is it 2 hours or an hour and a half before? I don't know what it is for the playoffs, but hopefully by about 5:30, 6 o'clock, we'll know what his status is. That may be the time for you to place some bets. Mike Conley is a game time decision as well. So those two guys are we want to keep our eye on. Even if Lightly comes back, he will be limited. Anthony, if he's limited, though, I'm okay with it because at least his presence on the floor changes the dynamic defensively, and that's really where I see his value. I know offensively he's big. I actually think defensively he is something that has been a thorn in the side of the Twin Towers for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let's get into some of the trends for this game, okay? So, when the Mavericks are coming off a loss and they play on the road the following game, so far this year, the Mavericks are 11-5 straight up, 13-3 against the spread, over-under very flat at 8-7-1. But again, to recap that, the Mavericks are 13-3 when they play on the road after they lost the previous game, 13-3 against the spread. Here's one for you. How about when they had that loss at home? 6-3 straight up, 7-2 against the spread. By the way, the losses that they had, one was a blowout game to the Thunder, 135-86. I almost feel like you could throw that game away. Looking into that game, actually, we're able to dive into that one. Luka Doncic didn't play. Kyrie Irving didn't play. So that game was irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. And in the other game that they failed to cover the spread, another blowout loss. This one was to the Rockets. Luka Doncic didn't play in that game either. So, in fact, when Luka Doncic has played, let's actually put that in. After a loss, Luka Doncic, let's just put it at, if his minutes in the previous, if his minutes in the game, so it's minutes greater than 1, greater than or equal to 1, I think. First time I've tried this algorithm, by the way, forgive me. So, when the Mavericks have lost the previous game, and then in the next game they play on the road, Luka Doncic has at least 1 minute of play. They're 11-2 straight up. They're 12-1 against the spread. 12-1 against the spread. Luka Doncic, minutes greater than 1. Yeah. So obviously we don't know tonight if he plays, but if he does, the Mavericks are 12-1 against the spread in that scenario, 11-2 straight up. The one loss they had was to the Clippers. By the way, again, when the loss that they had came at home, they're 6-0 straight up, 6-0 against the spread. So again, let me recap some of the trends, because I know I threw a lot out there because I was diving into it. The trend we just looked up is when the Mavericks lost at home in their previous game, the game they're then playing is on the road, and Luka Doncic does play that game, the Mavericks are 6-0 straight up. They are 6-0 against the spread. Over-under is 3-3. Now, if I remove that loss at home, and I just say they lost regardless of location, but everything else is the same, 11-2 straight up, 12-1 against the spread. If you don't like the Mavericks right now, maybe you need to start reevaluating that, because that is a hell of a trend. That is a hell of a trend. So anyways, let's dive into a bit more on this. I don't want to get overly excited on the Mavericks just yet, even though I already bet them earlier today because I did this research. But we're going to continue to look at it to make sure that we're looking at things appropriately. Let's take a look at it from the Timberwolves perspective. When the Timberwolves are coming off a win, and then they're playing at home the following game. So far this year, Timberwolves are 20-10 straight up. Not surprised. However, they actually have a losing record against the spread. When the Timberwolves are coming off a win and then play at home, they are 13-16-1 against the spread. Over-under split at 15-15. By the way, don't touch the total in this game. If I've learned anything from looking at the trends so far in this little bit of research, man, the sports books have set the total so perfectly for these teams. Don't touch it. I think this one is a trap. I think it's a trap. I haven't seen anything yet. Maybe something comes out, but I feel like this total is really tough to call. What is standing out, though? What's standing out to me is the fact that the Mavericks covering feels like a very good play. Now, let's say when the Timberwolves had a road win and then play at home, 7-5 straight up, 5-6-1 against the spread. Wow, really interesting. The Timberwolves, when they won their previous game on the road and then they play at home, they've lost 5 of their last 6 games under this scenario. They've covered just 1 of their last 6. This stands out to me, man. We have a consensus building. We have a hypothesis. Mavericks on the money line, Mavericks against the spread. Obviously, if we like them on the money line, we like them against the spread. By the way, Kyrie Irving. We talked a lot about Kyrie Irving, what his record was in closeout games going into Game 4. He lost. He's now 14-1 in closeout games. I'd rather be on the side of the 14 than the 1. So I know he lost his last game, but boy, there is a lot of data right now that's pointing us in the direction of the Dallas Mavericks. I know a lot of you guys out there may be going, no. It's going to be a 3-2 series. The NBA doesn't want this delay between games. I don't know. The data is really pointing us in that direction of the Dallas Mavericks. Let's keep looking at it. I'm just going to look at it a little bit more. Mavericks. Let's say they're right now an underdog of 4 points. 4.5 points, actually. When they've been an underdog of 5 points or less, when the Mavericks have been an underdog of 5 points or less at the Mavericks as an underdog of 5 points or less this year are 8-5 straight up, 9-4 on the run against the spread. I almost said on the run line. 9-4 against the spread. But here's what's more interesting to me. In their last 7 games, they've covered the spread in 6 of their last 7. Again, when they've had a line of 5 or less. That's the scenario that they have tonight. By the way, in those games, the average margin of difference is 2 points actually in favor of the Mavericks. I have a consensus on this one. I feel good about this. I'm going to put this one up on the board. First things first, I'm going to give you the cautious play. The cautious play is to take the Mavericks to cover at plus 7.5. Do I think that the Mavericks are going to lose by 8 points? No, I really don't. I haven't seen one piece of data right now that suggests maybe they could lose by 4, maybe they could lose by 5, because maybe it gets to a point in the game where it's free throws. Now again, I'm not saying that's what I think is going to happen. I'm saying if I'm playing out almost a worst case scenario in some, not really, because Doncic would have to get her. I don't want any of that. But what I'm saying is, based on the trends we just looked at, on the conservative, like bad case scenario side, Mavericks plus 7.5, that feels very conservative. If you want to take a really safe play, Mavericks plus 8.5 for a bunch of parlays, I would absolutely recommend that. Mavericks plus 8.5, I actually did that earlier today. Mavericks plus 8.5, put it into a bunch of parlays. If you like other bets, 2-leg parlay it to death. That said, I'm taking the Mavericks to win. I'm taking the Mavericks to win. Obviously, I'm putting up the 7 and the 7.5 as a safe play, as something to put into parlays. But guys, I think the Mavericks are winning this game. Every piece of data that we just looked at supports the Mavericks to win. Every piece of data supports the Mavericks to win. I wish right now I could point it in another direction. Now, obviously, the data is really pointing us towards the Mavericks covering more than anything, but I gotta believe that the data around what we looked at earlier, when the Mavericks are coming off a home loss, they go on the road and Doncic actually plays, they are undefeated. Undefeated in that scenario, and they're undefeated against the spread. It stands out to me. By the way, what are you using for your research? We're using a couple of different websites. One requires a subscription, one does not. The one that requires a subscription is Outlier, Outlier. It's a sports betting research tool that aggregates data and does a brilliant job of making it really easy for the user. So if you want to look something up, if you want to know what the market's looking like in terms of the tickets being bet, the money being bet, if you want to see all the odds, if you want to see the trends head-to-head or over a certain period of time, it's all accessible for you and done so you can see it really easily. You don't have to comb through it. You don't have to look it up yourself. Outlier does that. It's brilliant. I don't think there's anything as good as it on the market. I think it outpaces everybody else by a very wide margin. That said, if you want to use a free website, it requires you to do your own bit of selecting. Check out killersports.com. Killer sports.com. Make sure you check it out. One of the things I actually really like about it is I can look things up in the manner in which I care about it. So if you guys just want to check it out, it's free. I do want to call something out about killersports.com when we get back to baseball, because I actually tested something last night and it turned into an incredible return on investment bet. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But killersports.com, all the research I'm doing that. Right now, you can check it out on YouTube, by the way. If you want to see me do this research live on my screen, jump on over to YouTube. I do all of my research right here in front of you on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. So if you want to check that out, you can see everything that I'm doing. I joke that I'm the Benihana of sports betting. I'm cooking up what's going on your plate right in front of you so you can see what's going in behind it. So again, the trend that we looked up, when the Mavericks are coming off a loss, they play on the road the next game, and Luka Doncic has at least 1 minute on the floor. The Mavericks are 11-2 straight up, 12-1 against the spread. And if that previous loss came at home, the scenario he has tonight, Mavericks are 6-0 straight up, 6-0 against the spread. If I combine that with the fact that Kyrie Irving is 14-1 in closeout games, there's just such a high level of confidence behind the Mavericks. We just looked at trends too. The Timberwolves are not a very good team, especially against the spread when it comes to after a win on the road, then they play at home. Just hasn't, and especially of late, especially later in the year. November, December might have been better against the spread, especially at home. Not the case. So I just feel very good about that. I'm taking Mavericks to cover. I'm taking Mavericks to win. I'm Mavericks tonight. Now let's talk some player prop bets while we're talking this game right now. Don't worry, we'll talk a little bit of puck too. I know a couple of you are asking about that puck. Now, first things I want to look at, Luka Doncic. Now, I'm not saying this matters. This is one of those few times I want to make sure you hear this. This has nothing to do with data. This has nothing to do with research. This is my personal take. I think Luka Doncic has been kicking his own ass about that missed free throw for the last 48 hours. Ever since that missed free throw, when he had the chance to take that game from a 4-point game down to a 3-point game, and he missed, or was it from 3 to 2, whatever it was, when he missed the chance at that 4-point play, I think Luka Doncic has been hounding himself over that. And I think he is boiling to get back on the floor. I think he is hungry for tonight. Does that mean that he goes off for points? I think it does. But we're going to look at the data. We're going to look at the research to make sure we back that up. His point total for tonight is set at 30.5. The market opened at 30.5, went down to 29.5, went back up to 30.5. It's kind of ping-ponging between the two. Between these two, on the road, this has been a very good trend, reaching 30 points. He's reached 30 points in 7 of his last 10 games overall. Now, the point total set at 30.5. If we take it on 1 day of rest, again, good trend, 6 of the last 10 games, 5 of the last 7. Head-to-head on the road against the Timberwolves, he's hit this in 2 of his last 5 games. Do I love it? I don't love it. I would buy it down. Maybe buy it down to over 28.5. Over 28.5 has hit in 9 of his last 10 road games. Luka Doncic has hit 28 points or more in 9 of his last 10 road games. Over his last 20 games, this has hit in 15 of his last 20. In fact, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. This is hit in 11 of his last 12 road games. I think he's scoring 30. I think he's at least scoring 29. So I like Luka Doncic. I'll take Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic over 28.5 points. I bring it down just to be a little bit safe, but I like that. A couple of you guys are asking about Kyrie Irving on points. Kyrie Irving's point total is 22.5. Hasn't been a very good trend at the 22.5. Head-to-head against the Timberwolves has been a better trend. On the road against the Timberwolves, 1 and 2. But the real line here is 20 points. If you can get this at 19.5, I'd almost jump on that. He's hit this in 5 of his last 6 games against the Timberwolves. On the road, back-to-back games against the Timberwolves. In his last 10 games, he's hit it 6 of his last 10, but really 4 of his last 5. So Kyrie Irving over 19.5 points, that would be the play. If you want to put it into a parlay, keep buying it down. But I'll take Kyrie over 19.5 as well. Over 19.5 points for Kyrie. Let's keep looking at points. Next one that I'm going to look at is going to be Naz Reid. You're like, why Naz Reid? Because his home road splits matter, folks. His point total right now is set at 11.5, but when he plays at home, he has been pretty close to double digits almost every single game. Not as good a trend against the Denver Nuggets, but against the Dallas Mavericks, he's hit double digits in 5 of his last 6 games at 5 of his last 6 games at home, 3 straight games. Again, I would buy this down over 9.5 points. Naz Reid over 9.5 points. Forgive me. Naz Reid over 9.5 points. That would be a spot I take. He has gotten to double digits at home in 8 of his last 10 games, really 8 of his last 9. So I'm going to put this on the board as well. Naz Reid over 9.5 points. You want another one involving Naz Reid? Here's an interesting one. Over half a block. He has a block in 4 of his last 5, 5 of his last 7 games, and specifically against the Dallas Mavericks, he has a block in 4 of his last 5 games and in 3 straight games at home. I'll put this one up on the board as well for you folks. Naz Reid over half a block. So make sure you're checking that one out as well. Naz Reid over half a block. Now, in case you guys thought I was going to miss out on all the other stars of the Minnesota Timberwolves, forgive me, I do want to take a look at Rudy Gobert, actually. Rudy Gobert, another good home-road split situation here in terms of points. His point total set at 12.5. Don't like that, but at home, look for the double digits. Rudy Gobert over 9.5. If you can get it, jump on it. Over 10.5, that might be the spot where you have it available. But he has hit 11 points in 8 of his last 10 road games against the Mavericks at home. He's hit this 5 straight games. So Rudy Gobert over 10.5 points. Rudy Gobert over 10.5 points. Next pick that we're putting up on the board. So we just gave you a pick for this game. We gave you a bunch of player prop bets as well. So a bunch of things you guys could check out. If you guys want to see every bet that I make every single day, just DM me on Instagram, ButtFumbleSports. DM me on Instagram to get every bet that I make every single day. I give them away for free. I never charge for my picks. They're never behind a paywall. Why? One, we have amazing sponsors that really allow us to build our company and to grow and do the things that we do. Thanking them for their support as always. But of course, I'm also a big believer in you guys shouldn't pay for sports picks unless they are coming from like Vegas experts who used to work at sports books. So I give away my picks for free every day. All you guys have to do is DM me on Instagram. My handle on Instagram is ButtFumbleSports. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Kick, Twitch, all under the same handle, ButtFumbleSports. Go to Instagram, DM me on Instagram. I'm going to give you a link and a referral code for the SHARPZ app. SHARPZ is like a bulletin board for sports betting, so every bet that I make on my own automatically shows up on the SHARPZ app. Make sure you DM me on Instagram. Make sure you guys get that link, and make sure you check out my picks every day. You guys can follow, you can fade. It's entirely up to you. All of my picks are based on research, trends, data, analytics, matchups, weather, officiating, whatever piece of information we can get our hands on. Do they hit every single time? No. We hit all of our bets at around a 54% clip. That includes round robins and parlays. If I take those out, we usually hit it around a 68% clip. A couple of folks were asking about this NHL game. Right now, the Rangers are the underdog for this game. Money coming down on the Rangers to win, though. 53% of the tickets are on the Rangers to win. 60% of the money is on the Rangers to win. Rangers as underdogs are also getting love from the money. Let's see if we can pull up the trends for the NHL. We accurately called the over in the 2 games down in Sunrise because the over has been a very consistent play there. Let's see when the Panthers have been playing the Rangers on the road, when these two teams have met at MSG. This might take a second. A little bit slow. You taking the Mavs or the Wolves? Lollapalooza. I'm taking the Mavs. We're going Mavs today. Mike EB. We looked at Abraham Toro a little bit earlier. I liked Brent Rooker more. Appreciate you guys watching the show. Hope you guys are loving the content, the conversation. Make sure you follow. Make sure you subscribe. If you're watching the show on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you guys are watching on Instagram and TikTok and you want to see me doing the research live on my screen, make sure you guys are going over to YouTube, and that way you can see everything we're doing. Right now we're in a bit of a holding pattern because killersports.com, for whatever reason, the NHL side I feel like freezes more. Question mark? I'm Ron Burgundy. I feel like it's a little bit slower on that side. Here it is. Okay, So I want to backdate this a little bit. Since 2021, when these two teams have met at MSG, man, slow as balls. This is just slow. This is just slow. We're slow. Okay, since these two teams have met at MSG, the over's actually gone 5-2. The problem is the under is hit in the last two meetings between the two teams, so that trend is definitely kind of ended. As for the two meetings, the Rangers are 5-2 in the last 7 meetings between these two teams at MSG. Kind of interesting there. In both scenarios, the Panthers were the favorite when they got those 2 wins. Both wins came in regulation. So if this game goes to overtime, take the Rangers in overtime. They've been better at home under that scenario. Let's dive into a few more trends because nothing really stood out from that first look. When the Panthers are on the road and they are coming off a win, that's why. Panthers coming off a win at home are 21-12 straight up. The under's been slightly better at 18-14-1. When that win came at home and then they're on the road, 11-3 straight up. Wow. The only losses that they suffered, one was in October. We can knock that one out. One was in February. That came against the Hurricanes in a 1-0 loss. And the other one came against the Maple Leafs in a 6-4 loss in April. Really interesting there. So, let's take a look at it this way. When the Panthers have been an away favorite after a home win, when they're an away favorite after a home win, guys, I have a great trend for you. When the Florida Panthers are an away favorite following a home win, they are 10-1 straight up. 10-1 straight up. Their only loss came April 1st to the Maple Leafs for a 6-4 loss. That was their only loss. That also means that was their only loss against the puck line as well. So they covered the spread in every game but one, 10-1 straight up. That is a phenomenal trend. Definitely something we want to keep our eye on. Let's look at it from the Rangers' point of view. When the Rangers are a home, let's just say at home, because being a home dog is probably unlikely enough over the course of the season as well. When the Rangers have been at home after an away loss, how have they performed? Rangers are 5-5 straight up. Even worse, the wins really came early in the year. October, November, December accounts for 3 of those 5 wins. So since the start of the new year, since January 1st, 2024, the Rangers are 2-5 straight up when they are at home after an away loss. So the combination of Panthers being such a good play on the trend and the Rangers not leads me to think that the Panthers on the money line is the better play. We're going to dive into it just a little bit further, but we are building a bit of a consensus here. Let's take a look at it. Rangers as a home dog so far this year only happened 3 times. They're 1-2. Both of those losses came against the Panthers. Folks, we have our NHL pick of the day. I'm taking Panthers on the money line, guys. Panthers on the money line. Panthers on the money line is what we're going with. So far, here's a quick recap of all the picks we've put up on the board. Quick recap of every pick we've made so far during the show. Royals and Twins, under 9.5. If you're putting it in a parlay, under 9 if you want to take it straight up. We have Twins on the money line. Rays on the money line. We have Brett Rooker, over half a hit. We have Christian Yelich, over half a hit. We have the Mavericks. If you're looking for a parlay play, Mavericks plus 7.5 or Mavericks plus 8.5. Make that a leg in 2-leg parlays. But who do I like to win tonight? I like the Mavericks on the money line, guys. Mavericks on the money line. A couple of NBA player prop bets we like. Luka Doncic, over 28.5 points. Kyrie Irving, over 19.5 points. Naz Reid, over 9.5 points. We also like Naz Reid over half a block and Rudy Gobert over 10.5 points. The only NHL pick that we're going to put up on the board is Panthers on the money line. Panthers money line, only other pick we're putting up on the board. We're going to circle back to the MLB, just complete our research for MLB before we close out here. We're running out of time for our show. Make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're a member of this amazing community of sports fans that comes together live almost every single day. A reminder, we give our picks away for free. We do this research for free every single day that we can. So make sure you follow. That way you never miss our show. You never miss our research. You never miss our picks. We are so grateful for the loyal butt fumblers out there that follow us every single day. You can follow, you can fade our picks, but hopefully you're following our channel. So make sure you subscribe. If you are watching over on YouTube, you get to see my screen and everything that goes on. Make sure you subscribe, and that way you can check us out when we go live every day. Astros, Mariners, we're going to do some quick research on this. Markets favoring the Mariners right now, 79% of the tickets, 80% of the money on Mariners to win. On the spread, Mariners are also getting a lot of love there. We're going to switch back over to MLB. We're going to make this pretty quick. We're not going to spend the same amount of time just because we're running out of opportunity to. So, when the Astros, we're going to just focus on Astros so far this season, when they are playing in the last game of a series and they're on the road. So far this year, 4-3 straight up. When they are coming off a loss in the previous day's game, 3-3 straight up, 3-3 on the run line. They actually have won their last 3 in a row under this scenario. Flipping it around, how have the Mariners done? Coming off a win, last game of a series at home. Mariners are 1-3 straight up, 1-3 on the run line. The under is 4-0. This is a game in which I already thought no run in the first inning was actually a decent play. I love the fact that the under is getting some love. The total for this game right now is set at 7.5. Don't like that, but if you bumped it up to maybe 8.5 or 9, could certainly talk me into it. Are there any trends that really get us excited? Mariners, let's say in a day game, how have the Mariners performed in day games this year? 8-11 straight up, 7-12 on the run line. Under is 11-7-1. How about Astros day games? How have they performed so far this year? Astros 7-10 straight up, 8-9 on the run line. Under slightly better at 10-6-1. So the under continues to be something that we have our eye on. Overall, though, not really excited about this one. Mariners have the better starting pitcher on the mound. Mariners have the better starting pitcher on the mound. They've got Logan Gilbert making the start. Let's take a look at Logan Gilbert's stats really quick, or rather, how have the Mariners performed when he's made his start so far this year? Because that's what we care about. A lot of people are going to try and talk to me about like his ERA, his advanced analytics. That's not so much what I care about. What I really care about is how has the team performed when he's been on the mound. Under has been a very good trend. The under is 8-3 when Logan Gilbert has pitched so far this year. Meanwhile, the Mariners are 6-5 in his starts. They've covered the run line 6 out of 11 times as well. When Logan Gilbert's pitched at home, the under is 4-0. The under continues to make some strong arguments for itself. How about this Astros starting pitcher, Spencer Arrighetti? If I'm butchering that, forgive me, to the Arrighetti family. So far this year, they're 3-5 in his starts, 3-5 on the run line. Over's been slightly better in his starts, but wow, the Astros are 0-4 in his starts. Spencer Arrighetti, the Astros are 0-4 straight up when he starts on the road, 0-4 on the run line. Now I understand why things are coming down the way that they are. We're going to put this up on the board. I like Mariners on the money line. I do like Mariners on the money line. I'll also back the under. I'll take Astros, and I'll take Mariners. And again, I'm going to take the under 9, and I'm just going to make it a parlay play. The under 9 right now is available, let's see, at minus 249. So really not a good bet. It's not really good. It's a parlay play, but I know I'm going to get shit for it. So if you guys want to give me hell for it, I totally get it because that's a cop-out. But under 9, maybe you make it a 2-leg parlay. Maybe Mavericks plus 8.5, Mariners, Astros under 9, 2-leg parlay. So something to think about there. Those are the picks we have for that one. Really quick, let's jump on over to a quick player prop bet look. for that Astros game. I do have a player prop bet that I do like. It comes from the Astros side of things. Jose Altuve has had 25 career at-bats against Logan Gilbert. He's hitting 400. He absolutely rakes against him. Against right-handed pitching this year, Jose Altuve is hitting 305. Jose Altuve over half a hit. That one makes the big board as well. Putting that one up here, Jose Altuve over half a hit. Really quick, other side of things. Does any Mariner have an at-bat against this pitcher? Nope. And against right-handed pitching, they actually don't have one hitter above 300. That's the only thing about the Astros that I actually like. They have a couple of hitters who hit Logan Gilbert well. Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve, Jose Abreu. But other than that, I tend to lean towards the Mariners. The starting pitching matchup favoring the Mariners is what really stands out. We're going to move on really quickly right now. Next game we're going to focus on Diamondbacks and Mets. I'm going to skip this one, and the reason I'm going to skip it, there are trends saying both teams are going to lose. There are a lot of trends suggesting both teams could lose, so I'm not going to touch this one. This one actually does not feel like a pretty good play. I'm going to be quick about the next two as well. I did my research on Tigers and Red Sox earlier. I'm taking Red Sox on the money line. Red Sox on the money line is going to be my bet for Red Sox and Tigers. Did my research earlier in the day, so I'm just going to make that pick since we're running out of time. Nationals and Braves. This one, a little bit trickier. I do have a player prop bet for this one that I want to give out. Marcell Ozuna came through for us yesterday. He's got good stats again today against Trevor Williams in his career. Marcell Ozuna hitting 321 in 28 at-bats against right-handed pitching this year, hitting 292. I'm taking Marcell Ozuna over half a hit. Marcell Ozuna over half a hit. By the way, in case you guys were like, oh, you want to give a player prop bet for Red Sox and Tigers, I actually do have two for that one as well, so I'll give that one out. Again, I'll avoid Diamondbacks and Mets altogether. But for the Red Sox game, Gio Urshela over half a hit is one I would make. I know that sounds like a bizarre play, but he's got good history against the starting pitcher and good history against right-handed pitchers this year. Gio Urshela over half a hit. I'm also taking Rafael Devers over half a hit. He has good numbers against the starting pitcher. Against Jack Flaherty in his career, Rafi Devers is hitting 1 for 2, so a small sample size. I shouldn't have said hitting well, but he's hitting 310 against righty pitchers so far this year. So I will take Rafi Devers over half a hit, as well as Red Sox on the money line. I did take Braves on the money line as well. Braves on the money line. I'll show you the trend for this one because it's actually interesting. Braves, last game of a series when they are coming off a loss, they are so far this year 5-1 straight up. That's largely what's behind this win. 5-1 straight up. Here's the tricky part. So far this year, Trevor Williams for the Nationals has been 9-1 on the run line, 8-2 straight up. So I am nervous about this one. Nationals against the left-handed starting pitcher. Nationals against the left-handed starting pitcher, 7-8, 9-6 on the run line. They've lost their last 3. I'm going to take the Nationals to cover. I'm going to take Braves on the money line, but I do like the Nationals to cover. I can get the Nationals at plus 2.5. Definitely taking that. Nationals plus 2.5. Really like it. So Braves on the money line, Nationals plus 2.5. Chuck, do you parlay hit players or play single? I do round robins, so that it isn't a parlay. Yes, I do parlays on those. I'm taking Braves money line, Nationals plus 2.5. Finally, I will take the Yankees on the money line. Yankees on the money line is the last bet that I'm putting up on the board for you folks out there. But there are a number of Angels who actually have good history against Carlos Rodon. So that is a little bit of reason to be concerned. Taylor Ward, over half a hit. I really like today. Let me pull him up right now to show you why. Taylor Ward, we want the over half a hit. Taylor Ward against left-handed pitching has a hit in 9 of his last 10 games, specifically against Carlos Rodon. He has 2 hits and 5 at-bats. One of those 2 hits was a home run. He's hitting 349 against left-handed pitching this year. Phenomenal numbers. Taylor Ward, over half a hit. And folks, that is the last pick we're going to be giving out for our show today. Quick recap for all of our picks. If you miss any of our picks, DM me on Instagram. But Fumble Sports, DM me on Instagram. I give away all of my picks for free. So if you miss any of them, always feel free. Hit me up. I give away my picks for free. They're never behind a paywall. They're never hidden. A lot of transparency. DM me on Instagram. But Fumble Sports, DM me on Instagram to get every bet that I make every single day. Here's a quick recap of all of our picks. We have Royals and Twins under 9.5. We have Twins on the money line. Rays on the money line. Mariners on the money line. Astros under 9. Red Sox on the money line. Braves on the money line, but Nationals plus 2.5. And the Yankees on the money line. Next, the player prop bets we have are Brent Rooker over half a hit. Christian Yelich over half a hit. Jose Altuve over half a hit. Gio Urshela over half a hit. Rafael Devers over half a hit. Marcell Ozuna over half a hit, and Taylor Ward over half a hit. For the NBA, we're taking Mavericks. If you're looking for a parlay play, Mavericks plus 8.5, Mavericks plus 7.5, safe parlay play legs that I would recommend. However, I do like the Mavericks on the money line. I do think the Mavericks win this game. That's what I'm going to go with for my game pick. Player prop bets for the NBA. We're taking Luka Doncic over 28.5 points. Kyrie Irving over 19.5 points. Naz Reid over 9.5 points. Naz Reid over half a block. And Rudy Gobert over 10.5 points. And our last pick of the day, NHL. We're taking Panthers on the money line, everybody. Panthers on the money line. It was so awesome talking sports with you over the last hour and a half. I am so grateful for you guys taking time out of your day to watch our content, to be a part of our community, and to be involved in our show. Love your questions. Love the engagement. I hope you guys follow. I hope you subscribe. I hope you're with us every day that we go live. I love talking sports with you. I hope you guys know it. Hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday. Enjoy this 3-sport day. NHL, NBA, MLB. We don't have too many days like this remaining before we hit the off season, so make sure you enjoy it while you can. If you miss any of my picks, DM me on Instagram, But Fumble Sports. DM me on Instagram, But Fumble Sports on Instagram. DM me to get every bet that I make every single day for free. They're never behind a paywall, always accessible. But Fumble Sports on Instagram. Have a healthy, happy, safe Thursday. Enjoy all the sports action. I'll catch you guys again tomorrow. Until then, goodbye, everybody.